Hello everyone and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, I'm going back to the basics when it comes to jungling in Wild Rift. And we're going to be talking about jungle efficiency. When is the best time to recall? When is the best time to farm your jungle or look for ganks? And also the best early game pathing in the game. So if you're just learning jungle for the very first time in Wild Rift, or maybe looking for a role swap, maybe you want to go to the jungle and try and carry in the jungle rather than playing in one of the lanes, then this is the video for you. And what better champion to do this on than Nocturne, one of the newest champions that have been added to Wild Rift recently, and also one of the best early game jungle clears in the game. I think Mumu is still up there as the best early game jungler in the game in terms of clearing through the jungle, but Nocturne is definitely up there as well. So let's go back to right at the start of this video. At the start of the game, you kind of want to understand what your jungler wants to do. Does he want to gank early? Does he want to farm up and try and get to level 5 as quick as possible? That's kind of the decision you want to make. And also deciding whether you want to start at the blue buff or start at the red buff. Now, in my opinion, 90% of the junglers will start at blue buff just because it's much easier to path from the top side at blue buff down to the bottom side of the map, and also because you'll be able to get to level 5 quicker because it's shorter duration for you to walk between each camp, and also you'll be able to pull the camps as well. Now, what I do at the start of every single game is decide that I want to start. So if I want to start on blue buff, I walk to the red buff straight away. If I want to start red buff, I start to the blue buff. And what I do is I put a ward down. This is to basically defend any sort of early game invading that the enemy team might do, or any sort of crazy shenanigans that might happen. And then when I go back to base, I swap to sweeper. Sweeper is really good for knowing when you're ganking. You'll be able to see enemy vision, what's going to be happening when you're going to be looking for a tower dive or looking for a gank. So you'll be able to clear enemy vision or see if they even have vision on you. Now, of course, Nocturne at level 5 is one of the best ganking junglers in the game with his ultimate already, but sometimes you might be spotted, so Sweeper is a really good option. So with Nocturne, I always start with blue buff. Blue buff is by far the best start to go with, as I mentioned, most junglers. And like I said, the reason for this is you'll be able to pull the blue buff and the Gromp at the same time. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to attack the Gromp or attack the blue buff at the same time and try and pull them and try and get the most efficient way to clear jungle as possible. Something similar to this. I probably didn't do this the perfect way, to be fair, but what you're able to do, you're able to walk to the Gromp or trying to use an ability on the Gromp to pull it out, and then you have both the jungle camps next to you, so you can use your AoE abilities to kill them both basically at the same time. And you can see that every single time that I'm using my ability, especially my first ability, to try and clear the jungle camps, I'm using it in a way that I'm going to benefit from the extra movement speed. So my first ability, when I cleared from the blue buff, I was using my first ability down to the walls, and then the walls, I'm using it to go over to the raptors. So I'm getting that little bit of extra burst of movement speed as well as the damage, so I can get to each jungle camp quicker. And you can see that I also put 2 points in my first ability instead of putting a point in my third ability. You actually do this quite a lot with junglers. There are some junglers which you do this pretty much every single game, like Nocturne, for example, because you'll want to try and clear through the jungle as quick as possible, and your third ability doesn't really do that much damage. But there's some junglers where you want every single one of your abilities if you want to try and gank early, like Jarvan, or you just put points in the ability that deals the most damage. Now, you might be thinking, why are you leveling your second ability? Well, your second ability gives you passive attack speed, so that's why you go for your second ability instead of your third ability. And as I mentioned, you put 2 points into your first ability. And you can see that every single time I'm clearing through the camps, I'm making sure I stand on my shadows on my first ability, and you'll see an example here. So I'm trying to hit the raptors and I'm hitting the red buff at the exact same time. And every time I'm looking to use my first ability, I'm looking to go from one camp all the way to the next. So again, here I'm at red buff, the red buff's about to die. I'm pulling the Krugs to make sure I can get there quicker. And you can see how fast your jungle clearing is, even with an extra smite coming in handy. I was able to jungle clear in 1 minute 38 seconds with an extra smite in hand. Now you might be thinking, why are you not using your smite in jungle camps? Well, I always keep my smite when I'm playing jungle most of the time because I want to try and contest the early scuttle crab. Again, this is very useful whether you're starting top lane or bot lane. It doesn't really matter each way. But sometimes when you start a red buff and you want to go up to the top scuttle crab, it can be a little bit difficult because then you're going towards a grump, which is very far on the side of the map. So you're going from grump all the way to your scuttle crab, which might take a little bit of time to get to. That's why I always like to start blue buff, because you can see the pathing is just so much smoother. If you're going red buff, you're going red buff up. You can't really pull from the Krugs up to the red buff. And when you get to the grump on top, it might take you a little bit longer to walk to the scuttle crab. So that's why most of the time I like to start from blue buff to red buff. But as I mentioned, I like to keep smite because I want to contest this early scuttle crab. Now, if the enemy jungler is starting blue buff, then of course you're not going to be contested here and you could just clear it much quicker. So again, either way, it's going to work in your favor, whether you want to, you know, use the smite for the scuttle crab, or use it for the jungle. Like I said, I always keep it for scuttle crab just in case the enemy jungler is there. You can see them hovering mid at the moment. I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to look for a gank? And then I probably realized that Seraphine actually has vision of me because the Seraphine went back. As soon as you walk to a lane, if the enemy laners walk back, you know that the area is warded. And now you can see Seraphine has walked mid. So there's probably a ward somewhere around this bottom side. But most of the time, what you want to do on junglers is you want to fully clear your jungle, every single jungle camp, and get the scuttle crab, and then go back to base. And the reason why you want to go back to base straight away, even when you hit level 5, is because you get your boots. Boots is by far one of the most strongest items in the game, especially if you're playing aggressive junglers like AD junglers that want to go for gluttonous greaves. This is a huge upgrade. If you are going for junglers that want more defensive boots, maybe someone like Xin Zhao that can go for defensive boots, or maybe Jarvan, you want to build towards Trinity Force as soon as possible. And AP junglers, again, you can go for boots and mana just to give you more jungle clear, or you can try and build towards the first item. Most AP junglers, you just want to go towards the boots and mana. Again, it will just help with your mana regen and also clearing through the jungle. So even though I hit level 5 here and I can look for ganks, I want to go back to base. I want to get my gluttonous greaves because this gives me the biggest amount of power possible. And then I'm going to use my first ability to get more movement speed to get out of the base. And at this point, you want to try and look for ganks. I'm trying to go up into the top scuttle crab to see if the enemy jungler has taken this top scuttle crab. As you can see, the volley bear is for some reason on this side. So I'm just going to do a little bit of extra damage here to the volley bear. And you can see Kayn is not even level 5 yet. I was able to get level 5 with my full jungle clear, and Kayn wasn't, unfortunately. So Kayn, unfortunately, didn't clear his whole jungle, and then I was able to get level 5. So I already have my ultimate advantage. And also I was able to take the bottom scuttle crab. And this is really important when jungling, is you want to take junglers that have really fast jungle clear, like Nocturne, like a Mumu, because these junglers are just going to be so quick. You can see how I'm looking to try and gank this volley bear again. I'm just trying to basically zone the volley bear away from the jungle camps. The Kayn even comes back as well. You can see how aggressive me and the Nara are playing. And as soon as I get an advantage here with the Kayn, you can see how low Kayn is on HP. Actually nearly died to the Jinx ultimate. I'm looking for an invading. And this is a good opportunity for me to talk about invading in Wild Rift. You never really want to invade unless you have a really strong advantage or the jungler is on the opposite side of the map. So in this scenario, as I mentioned, the Kayn was 1 HP, so I was able to invade, I was able to jump in and, you know, be able to do a lot of damage to the Kayn, and he had to go back to base. And since he had to go back to base, I could look for an invade. Now, this might not happen every game. Like, I'm very surprised that the the red buff was even up for Kayn and he was only level 4. Not too sure what he did in the early game for it to be, you know, that bad with his jungle clear speed. I'm sure Kayn's jungle clear speed is not that bad. But you can see that when I get an advantage, instead of me walking straight back to the jungle, I'm stealing jungle camps away from the enemy jungler. It's really good if the enemy jungler is dead as well. You always want to try and look for an invade. And the reason why you look for invade is because you want to deny gold as well as gain more gold for yourself. Because after that trade against the Kayn, for example, after Kayn was like 1 HP or after Kayn died, if I just went back to my jungle, I've only got a kill and that's it. And Kayn's just going to walk back and farm through his jungle and just basically catch up on experience and gold eventually. But what I was able to do, I was able to invade. I was able to go even further into his jungle. Even after he died, you see how quickly he got back out onto the map. And I was still able to get him low enough on health that I can still both his red buff and his blue buff. And you can see how high of a level I am against this Kayn. You can see I'm going to use my ultimate. I'm going to counter gank now because the Kayn was trying to gank just to help out the I guess help out the bot lane a little bit. And Kayn's ganking path there was actually really good, but luckily I was just clearing through the jungle at the same time, so I was able to clear through my top side of the jungle. You see, I basically just go back and I farm the jungle. I was able to get through the top side, path all the way down to the bot lane again, basically do the same jungle path that you did at the start of the game, blue buff to Gromp to walls and everything as well. So you're just doing the same jungle path, but it's just a little bit later on in the game. And you want to make sure you do this very, very often. I think there's a lot of junglers, and I see a lot of junglers making mistakes where they're ganking lanes when they have jungle camps up. Every single time you have jungle camps up, you always want to take jungle camps, always, because they give you so much gold that it's just an absolute no-brainer. I have no smite here. I need to be a little bit careful. I'm surprised I didn't actually queue the Rift Herald, and I think I actually got, yeah, it got stolen in the end by Volibear. Little bit of a mistake that it got stolen by Volibear, but I think in general this is fine. I mean, you can see how strong Nocturne is in early game skirmishes. The movement speed, the extra damage that you can deal, and the fear with the third ability is just so powerful. But like I mentioned, I think a lot of junglers make the mistake where they keep looking for ganks over and over again. They keep ganking, they want to get their lanes ahead, but their whole jungle is completely up. Their top side of the jungle is up, their bot side of the jungle is up, and they're not farming efficiently enough, which is exactly what the point is of this video. It's about knowing when to farm and knowing when to gank. And most of the time you want to make sure that you farm your jungle when it's up and available. If none of your jungle camps are up, and if you do the right jungle pathing that I'm doing, again, every single time I'm going back to the jungle, I'm farming from top side, from blue buff, all the way down to red buff. And after I clear every single camp, I'm able to, try and gank. Obviously here, the enemy team looked for a tower dive, so I was able to gank pretty easily towards the bot lane. So, situations like that. And this is why, in my opinion, Nocturne is actually one of the strongest junglers in general right now, because he can get easily from one side of the map basically to the other with his ultimate, and he can gank so easily, in terms of counter ganking. It's kind of similar to like Shen, when Shen jungle was very popular. I don't know if people will remember that, but when Shen jungle was very popular, it was all about just farming through the jungle, trying to get as much gold as possible from farming your jungle, and then just look for counter ganks. If an enemy jungler ganks, you just ulti them with Shen, and then happy days. I saw the Kayn here, and yeah, I saw the Kayn go from mid lane to blue buff, and I was like, oh, maybe his blue buff's up. I walked to blue buff, and yeah, that's taken as well. And you can see that I'm just kind of running away with this game now. This game is just completely one and done. I'm able to take every single one of his jungle camps, and because of the recent nerf that happened to jungle camps in general, invading has become a lot more valuable. A lot more valuable. You can see I'm trying to actually recall here. Senna misses the W, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck here in a really bad spot. This is a really bad overextend from me, to be fair. I shouldn't be here, and now, yeah, the whole cavalry comes here, and now I'm basically dead. I tried to recall. It was a bit of a risky recall to take, to be fair. I shouldn't have been that far into the enemy jungle. I think after I take all the jungle camps, I should just walk around to where mid is and then go back to base. But yeah, I took a risky recall, and it unfortunately didn't work out. But yeah, like I mentioned, since the jungle nerfs came in, with junglers in general getting less gold when farming through the jungle, it means that invading is now more important, because when you're invading, as I mentioned, you're not only gaining gold for yourself, but you're also denying gold away from the enemy junglers. So you're able to give yourself more gold and give yourself a bigger lead, but also, stop the enemy team from jungling, which, again, if it's a jungler that knows what they're doing, they're going to clear through the jungle as quick as possible and as much as possible as well, because every single time, as I mentioned, that your jungle camps are up, I'm very surprised how much Kai'Sa, how much damage Kai'Sa did there. But if your whole jungle is up like this is a great scenario, I think, where I probably made a mistake by running bot lane here, because you can see, like, I'm just going to pause on the death screen. You see that my entire top side is up. That is a lot of gold that I'm missing out, and when you don't clear your jungle camps when they respawn, they're just basically sitting gold and they're just losing value every single time, because if you're not clearing through the jungle camps, then it means it's going to take longer until the next one respawns. And then it just goes on and on and on. It becomes like a steamroll in the end. It becomes like a loop of the longer you delay clearing your jungle, the longer it takes for the next jungle camp to spawn, the less gold you'll be getting as a jungle. So in my opinion, I shouldn't have gone bot lane here. I was hoping that my ultimate would be up a little bit earlier by the time I get there, so I can ulti and do a bunch of damage and probably kill their bot lane. But as you can see, I made a mistake. I traded 1-for-1. It wasn't a good trade because of how far ahead I am, and I lose the tempo. I lose the tempo of clearing my top camps and, you know, getting more gold and getting more ahead this game. That's a great scenario that I think that I can, you know, I can say that I actually made a mistake for. And, you know, instead I should have been looking to clear through my jungle, or maybe even just look for more invades and try and, you know, help me get more ahead. But Kayn is level 10 at the moment. I think I'm nearly level 11, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. You'll see my level. Oh, wow. I'm actually nearly level 12. So I'm like 2 levels ahead of this Kayn already, which is absolutely crazy. And now you're seeing, I'm just going to go back to jungle. I'm just going to go back to farming. I do see the Kayn here, though, at the Scuttle Crab. So I do want to try and contest the Scuttle Crab and try and deny it away from the Kayn if possible. And yeah, I used my ultimate straight away. I jumped straight onto Kayn. I actually made a really big mistake here. I didn't realize at the time. I used my first ability before I jumped with my ultimate. I think my original plan in my head was I take the Scuttle Crab and then I ultimate. But sometimes Nocturne ultimate is just really awkward to use, because sometimes you double tap it by accident, and then when you double tap it, you jump to someone that you actually don't want to jump to. It's happened a few times. I've made that mistake a few times. But as you can see now, I've killed the Kayn. I probably could have looked for an invade here, but my whole jungle's up. And again, you'll be seeing me do the same jungle path time and time again. This is something that needs to stick in your head when you're a jungler. You need to do the same jungle path over and over again. Forget the dragon. Who the hell cares about dragon? Dragon stats are completely worthless in this game. The dragon stats are completely useless. And you can see, I just did the same jungle path that I always do. Blue buff all the way down to Grump, or all the way down, sorry, to Krugs. And then I was able to get it in the end. You can see I'm going to ulti mid, get another kill onto the Kai'Sa. And again, I've cleared through my whole jungle. And since I cleared through my whole jungle, I can now either look to invade, or I can look to try and take some, you know, other objectives. Look for ganks and look for invades. I'm going back to the dragon, because I'm not too sure what camps are up for the Kayn, so I don't want to risk like wasting time or anything by invading. But most of the time with Nocturne, you don't want to gank unless you have ultimate, because it can be very difficult to gap close and to try and do a lot of damage when you don't have ultimate, because you don't have that dive potential onto the backline. But you can see how strong, you know, Nocturne's early game is, and how much you're able to snowball as well. I was able to snowball very, very hard in this early game. You see I'm going for stasis now, making sure that I have that little bit of survivability. You could either go for stasis or you can go for QSS. You might be thinking, why do you have a QSS, or why would you go QSS if you have spell shield? Well, you can only spell shield one ability. And normally what you do with Nocturne is you use your ultimate, and then after you use your ultimate, use your spell shield straight afterwards to gain the boost of, you know, attack speed. Because most of the time, if you're getting jumped on by Nocturne, you're going to use an ability on him, right? And then you're going to be able to, you know, get the extra attack speed. You see there is an, you know, there is a great example where Kai'Sa used her Q. It's not the best ability to block, but it gives me the extra attack speed I need to make sure that I can deal enough damage to that champion. Really nice cage here by the Veigar, and that, yeah, they're just both dead. Really, really nice cage there from the Veigar. So since I was so far ahead in this game, and since I was able to snowball the early game, again, by efficiently going through my jungle, efficiently clearing through my jungle camps every single time, it is very, very important to do. And now we're trying to do Baron. Unfortunately, the Jinx has taken the mid lane tower, but we can still clear through the jungle pretty well. I mean, Nocturne has some nice sustain with his passive. You can see it's getting pretty close. I nearly died in the end as well, which would have been a little bit embarrassing for this video, but in general, it's pretty good. You see, I'm just letting them take top lane. I'm letting the Volibear and... Okay, well, I did go in the end. Okay, that was a huge mistake. I shouldn't have gone on the Volibear there. I should have waited until he used his ultimate and then jumped on him, but I didn't. I should have just carried on. I was about to say to myself, it's like, look, I'm just letting the enemy team clear the Volibear and kill the Volibear, and then I'm just farming through the jungle, which is what you want to do. But then I make a mistake and I jump onto Volibear when he still has ultimate. Again, wasting time. So there is possibilities that you can waste a lot of time when playing jungle, a lot of time, and you'll be wasting a lot of gold in general as well. Like I said, if you don't clear through the jungle, if you don't, you know, if you don't make the right plays, if you don't make the right gank opportunities, there's a lot. You can see here I don't have ultimate, so I'm not going to mid lane. It's completely pointless me going mid lane or just ganking in general when I don't have ultimate with Nocturne. But I have ultimate in 2 seconds. Now I'm looking for a gank. I'm looking to try and catch someone out with my ultimate. You can see I'm using sweeper here to make sure the enemy doesn't have any vision of me. Walking into the river, walking into the bush. As soon as someone pokes their head, I can try and use my ultimate. But unfortunately, no one poked their head. So instead, I push through mid lane. Again, there I was able to use my spell shield, my second ability to block the center stun, and also gain the extra attack speed on top of that as well, which was really, really nice. I'm going to probably use my spell shield here again to spell shield the third ability. Again, like, Nocturne has so much movement speed and so much damage that this jungler is just absolutely crazy right now. Like I said, even though he's a new jungler, maybe it's also because people maybe don't understand how to play against Nocturne. You know, when you play against Nocturne, as soon as he reaches level 5, you just have to play really, really passive until his ultimate is on cooldown. As soon as Nocturne's ultimate is on cooldown, as I mentioned, he becomes pretty useless. He doesn't become very useful at all. You need to make sure that you only gank when you have your ultimate available. And there you go. We're able to end the game. So the big thing here to learn is just knowing when to farm. As you saw in this game, every single time that I had the opportunity to farm through my whole jungle and fully clear through my jungle from blue buff all the way down to red buff, I did that. I didn't look for ganks, even if my ultimate was up and available. Because again, if you don't clear through your jungle camps, then you're not going to be very useful. And you're not going to have, you know, as much gold in the game. You see MVP 13, 2, and 6 this game. But I also have a second video I want to show you as well, where it's a lot more of a, I guess, a higher elo game, as this was like Emerald/Diamond game. I have another gameplay I wanted to show you. But you can see here, 30,000 damage with Nocturne, a decent amount of damage. Again, so much gold ahead. I had 17,000 gold, and the enemy jungler only had 9,000. So nearly a 10,000 gold difference in jungle. Again, it's all about me just clearing through the jungle as quick as possible. But yeah, we're going to go on to the second gameplay now, where we have another Nocturne gameplay. And maybe I'll teach you a few tips and tricks for Nocturne as well. On to the second video now, where I'll be playing Nocturne again and showing you more Nocturne gameplay, because obviously as a new champion, I think a lot of people want to learn maybe how I play the champion, how I feel about the champion, and also learn a few tips and tricks as well. Of course, you'll pretty much be seeing me doing the same thing as I did in the previous game. Jungle can be like this. Jungle can be very like rinse and repeat. There's not really too much in terms of difference between the different junglers. Maybe it's just different champions that you might want to play and try out. I think that's really the big difference between trying to learn jungle and learn what other junglers and what the champions actually do. But in terms of when you're clearing through the jungle and when you're looking at jungle efficiency, most of the junglers are just going to work the exact same. You start a blue buff, you try and clear through the jungle, and you kind of hope for the best. You see here that I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did in the previous game. Again, trying to go from blue buff up to red buff. I think I make a little bit of a mistake actually this game. I try and like auto attack a bit more. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this kind of like a little bit wrong in a way, because I'm trying to like auto attack both camps, but then that camp got reset. Yeah. I think the best way to do this, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult and sometimes you can just forget about this strategy in general, is just clear both camps individually. Or what you do is you auto attack the blue buff until it's low enough, so then you can use your first ability and smite and deal enough damage at the same time. In this game, I wanted to try out a few things, so I'm trying out my third ability and not leveling my second ability twice to see if there's a big difference in terms of the jungle clear. And I think I, already saw just from this game in general that the difference between you using your third ability, you leveling your third ability and putting 2 points in your queue makes a lot of difference. Like, you lose out on a lot of damage when you don't put 2 points in your first ability. So you can kind of say this is more of like a test game in general. You can see I still have my smite available. I'm very, very behind. You compare this jungle clear to the first game, with the jungle clear, and there is a big difference. Like here I'm at 138 and I'm not even finished the jungle clear this time. You can say that I probably made a mistake as well, the blue buff and the grump, but again though, you, as I mentioned, you always want to save your smite. Saving your smite means that you can try and contest this scuttle crab. I thought this was the enemy jungler for a second, but I was like, what the hell is Varus doing here? So I mean, I'll take a free kill, I guess. Like the enemy mid laner was for some reason at the scuttle crab trying to take it, and I was like, I was checking in my head. I was like, who's the enemy jungler? And then I realized that it's actually Fiora. Quickly check the jungle camp there. Might have wasted like maybe a few seconds, like 2 or 3 seconds there. But I just wanted to check it just to make sure that the enemy jungler, you know, didn't have the jungle camps up. You can see the Rumble and the Fiora diving very heavy into top sides. This is just the perfect opportunity for me to again use my ultimate. And again, I think this is just this is me showing the power of Nocturne in the early game. As soon as you have your ultimate up, you gain so much pressure on the map. And honestly, it was a huge mistake by the enemy team. Like when you're playing against Nocturne, you should never be standing in between towers. You should never be trying to tower dive underneath tier 2 tower. It's just a huge mistake that you shouldn't be making, because again, with Nocturne, you just use your ultimate and you get there in seconds, and it just means that you can just gank any lane super easy. So I saw that the top scuttle was already taken. Oh, this is me like changing the settings. Did you know this was in the game now as well? You can actually change your button layout in the game. I didn't know that was a thing. But someone on stream when I was streaming this game was like, you can change your button layout in the game because my smite was in the wrong spot. I was like, hold on a second, that's a thing? I don't know when that was added, but that's apparently been a thing for a while. So yeah, 3 kills already. You can see, again, though, I'm farming through the jungle because I don't have ultimate up. This is so important when you're playing Nocturne. Look at that. I'm pinging my ultimate 40 seconds, so my team knows when I can gank and when I can't gank. Fiora's completely different. Fiora, you can gank without your ultimate because there's not that much difference between ganking with your ultimate and ganking without your ultimate, because your mobility is really on your first ability. So you see here, I'm just going to wait for red buff. That's all I'm doing. And sometimes jungle's going to be like this, because again, I can't do anything. I can't gank any lane. Mid lane is dead. Bot lane is diving underneath tier 2 tower and going absolutely crazy. So at the moment, I'm just a sitting duck kind of waiting for this red buff. And sometimes this will happen, but I think it's completely fine for you to do this, because again, you'd much rather do this than waste time by walking around the jungle and trying to do something. So yeah. See here, I jump over the wall. I see the Fiora. Unfortunately, I don't have smite, so I actually lose this. But I fear the Fiora straight away. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my ultimate and wait for a little bit to get nearsighted and then jump straight onto the Fiora. I flash her Q, and then Varus is like, oh, there's no one in this bush. Psych, I'm here, buddy. The nearsight passive on the ultimate is also so disgustingly broken. Trying to get into range here to try and use my abilities. Obviously, I got my spell shield still to save me. Boom, a sneaky little kill there on the Xayah, and we are off and running, baby. And now's the best time to go back to base. I go back to base here and I get Trinity Force. Sometimes when you do your second jungle clear, like you go from top lane to bot lane, you normally want to go back and get the Trinity Force components, because there are 2 components that are very powerful for Trinity Force. One is Phage for the extra movement speed and extra damage, and one is Sheen. Of course, Sheen passive is just very powerful in general. See me here going up towards the Rift Herald, because Rift Herald is a lot more important than Dragons, especially in the early game. I see the Fiora here as well, and I'm like, oh, Fiora's 1 HP. This is Master, by the way. I just thought I'd let you know. This is Master gameplay you're looking at. No low elo anymore. Well, to be fair, Master is actually kind of low elo, so yeah. So you see here, I'm looking for an invade because I knew that Fiora was so low on HP. So you can see I'm looking for an invade, but she actually went back to base and came back in time. This is a mistake when you look at it, and also I accidentally double tapped my ulti. In hindsight, my idea here is good, because I saw that Fiora was like basically 1 HP, and I thought the Fiora would just go back to clearing through our jungle. I didn't think that she would reset and go back to base. In hindsight, my idea there was pretty good, because again, I saw this. I'll go back quickly. I saw the Fiora was 1 HP when I was clearing through the Rift Herald, so I was actually thinking in this scenario, I was like, do I just use a Rift Herald mid and try and push it, but then there's no minions pushing through mid? Do I try and use Rift Herald top? No, again, the minions are not pushed through top. So instead, because my brain is like, Fiora was basically 1 HP, let's look for an invade. And that's what I was looking for. But Fiora was able to go back to base and get back to the red buff in time, which is very unfortunate. And also, I probably would have able to escape here, but this is one thing that I really struggle with Nocturne. Well, I say I struggle with, I think it's just a general annoyance with Nocturne. I pressed my ultimate here, right? I wanted to near sight Fiora, near sight Varus. What I wanted to do here is press my ultimate and jump to Varus, so I actually have an easier time to try and escape. But when I use my ultimate here, you can see I'm just pressing the ultimate to try and use it. But then I accidentally double press it. You'll see here, look, I double press it and it goes on cooldown. So I accidentally jump on Fiora, which is then again just the death of me. So I thought I might as well use the Rift Herald while I'm here to try and get a bit of gold so I can use the gold when I go back to get base, basically. But I think it was a little bit unfortunate. I think my idea was right because I wanted to make sure that I try and invade and I get, you know, ahead because I'm 5-0. But unfortunately, it didn't really work out for me in the end. Now, a lot of people here, I wonder if I do this. I can't remember if I did this or not. Yeah, a lot of people here would run straight to dragon. Yeah, you don't want to do that as jungle. Ignore the dragon. Just pretend it's not there. I already took the Rift Herald. I already got so much gold from the mid lane tower play. It's like 400 gold. Guess what? My entire top side of my jungle is up. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to clear through the jungle camps. And that's exactly what you want to do as, you know, just any jungler in general, even if it's not Nocturne and he doesn't have a, you know, you don't have a very fast jungle clear. You want to just clear through these jungle camps. Dragon is completely worthless, especially the first dragon as well. I would much rather take Rift Herald, invade the enemy jungle camps, and then look for the Rift Herald. You see Rumble here is pretty low, so I just walk top lane here. I just use my spell shield and fear him. Get the movement speed to get the kill. But you can see Fiora's bot side, so I'm just going to clear cut Scuttle Crab here as well. So I'm like, okay, I'm completely fine with this. I believe I look for an invade here as well. Yeah, look, see? I would much rather do this than try and contest the dragon. Look how much time Fiora is wasting here by, you know, trying to do this, jungle or trying to do the dragon. And you know what's hilarious about this? They lose the team fight as well. They lose the team fight like 4 versus 3 or whatever it is. And also Fiora just wasted so much time by just being a dragon, and I took her entire top side. So you can see that I already got such a big lead. And even if, like, say they did win the fight a dragon and say they did take the dragon and I was able to invade instead, I would still be up in gold. And all they would get is like, oh, a 2% bonus healing from, you know, from Ocean Drake. What's that 2% bonus healing going to do for you when I'm like 3,000 gold ahead already in the game? I should probably look to go back to base here to get Serpent's Fang. But I just want to clear through my whole bot side of the jungle again. Just trying to make sure they respawn earlier on so I can go back to base. Obviously, my jungle clear is not as quick because I've, you know, over 2,000 gold in the bank. But again, it's just jungle efficiency. Clearing through this jungle, making sure I get these jungles to respawn as soon as possible. And then I look to go back to base. Serpent's Fang on base. Of course, the enemy team has quite a bit of shielding. Can't remember who they have. Oh, they have Seraphine. Yeah, I mean, when you see Seraphine on the enemy team, you just build anti-shield straight away. You always want to go anti-shield. And you can see now the Fiora. Did you see the Fiora look? The Fiora looked for an invade. The Fiora was looking for an invade because she knew that her whole top side was gone. She couldn't clear any of her top side camps. Her red buff is actually available in 5 seconds. I could look for that invade, but I have a Nasus top lane, so I'm not really going to have a lot of pressure. So again, like, I don't really have anywhere to gank. I can try and look for a gank mid lane, but Rumble is there and the Nasus is not. So even if I ulti mid lane here, it's going to be a 3 versus 2. But I see the Varus on low enough health that I can just one-shot him. Again, the Seraphine is here as well, but I flash away from her, which is really nice. I think I actually die here, though, if I remember. Yeah, unfortunately, I die here. Again, you can kind of say that's my mistake for jumping in onto the Varus there. I did just say in my head that, you know, if I gank mid lane, then the Fiora is probably going to be there. So it's going to be a 3 versus 2. I didn't expect the Seraphine to be there, though. If the Seraphine wasn't there, I think I would have been fine because I would have still had my flash. But I just kind of jumped in and, you know, tried to get an advantage and get more kills. But my team was able to clean up anyway, which is really nice. So you see in this game that I'm like really far ahead. You might be thinking this is going to be another short game. This game actually lasted quite a long time. You'll see in the late game, there was some like decision making from my teammates, which were a little bit unfortunate. Maybe some of my decision making was a little bit unfortunate as well. But yeah, this game actually lasted a lot longer than what you think. And the downside and the problem with Nocturne is that your late game is not very good. You need to snowball in the early game. Again here, another perfect example. Fiora is top lane. What I did when I came from out of base, I was like, where do I want to go? My top side jungle camps are not up. My bot side jungle camps are up. but also the bot wave is pushing in. I want to try and get the tower. So what I do here is, because everyone is top lane and no one's going back to base, if Lucian and Nasus and everyone went back to base, I would let them take the bot lane. I'll just go towards my jungle. But because they didn't, I was like, cool, I can push through the bot lane. I look at my mini map and I see the enemy Fiora is top lane. So what do? I look for more invading. Look for more invading, and I just get further and further ahead this game. Because again, I'm stealing jungle camps away and I'm not letting the enemy jungler farm. So as soon as Fiora comes bot side, she's going to realize her whole jungle camps are dead again. So again, it's not about invading in general, and it's not about, you know, you should always look for an invade. It's knowing when to invade. It's always keeping track of the enemy jungler and where she is. And look, I cleared through her entire bot side, and now the Varus and the Rumble are looking bot lane. So it's great. Now I can try and look for a kill here on the Rumble. Got a nice little pick here, use my ultimate, try and jump onto the Seraphine. I think I actually killed the Seraphine here as well. I mean, I am so far ahead at this point of the game. Zyra as well is going to try and survive. I think she actually might survive because I didn't spell shield at E here. I should have spell shielded here, yeah. I think if I spell shield there, I'd probably I'd probably try and, you know, play a little bit more aggressive, but I don't want to. This is too far from my team. Like, we're diving underneath towers like it's nothing, and you can see like Nasus has an entire wave topside, which I kind of want to take. Oh, Lux used her ulti. Lux used her ulti, so I'll just let her take the top wave instead. Yeah, it's a little bit of a crazy tower dive, but I think it was fine. Do I take QSS this game? I'm pretty sure I take QSS this game. I build Mortal Reminder, but I'm pretty sure I build QSS because they have a lot of crowd control. And again, I can only block one. Fiora actually took my blue buff, but that's all that she took. So again, I'm ahead. Fiora invaded and took the blue buff. That's pretty well played by Fiora. I took every single one of her other camps. So again, Fiora is wasting more time by just walking through the jungle and trying to get, you know, kills and trying to gank, when I am just clearing through the jungle even more. Trying to jump here onto the Fiora. Fiora is so difficult to kill though with her mobility, but I am pretty fast as well though with my Q. You can see here my Q is going to be crazy. Using sweep here just to make sure no one else is in the jungle, but yeah, unfortunately I wasn't able to kill the Fiora because her mobility is just way too good. I was able to do a nice amount of burst damage with first strike, but outside of that I couldn't do anything else. Again, I just let them take the jungle. I let them take the dragon. I'm totally fine with them taking 2 dragons. Even Dragon Soul in this game, sometimes you can say that it's pretty bad. Somehow Fiora has a gold shutdown, by the way. I don't know how. I'm still like so far ahead in gold. So I've been able to clear through the jungle really quickly. Trying to see if the Scuttle Crab or anything's available. Also trying to defend my team as well. You can see every single time I have the opportunity, I'm pinging my ultimate because I don't want my team to fight. You see here, I don't really have any jungle camps to go for, so I probably should have gone back to base a lot sooner. I was just making sure I defend mid lane and I don't do anything. Yeah, you see I have QSS this game. You see, I was trying to defend mid lane just in case the, you know, the Fiora or the Rumble would dive on. Nasus is just casually killing the Varus top lane, and yeah, this is where my team starts making mistakes. They start to dive in and they start to do a few mistakes. Great parry actually here by the Fiora. I was going to fear the Fiora there and probably kill her, but a really good parry by Fiora actually stopped my fear from Nocturne, which was kind of well played by Fiora. But you see, my team's starting to get a little bit over aggressive and a little bit impatient when it comes to you know, making sure that, you know, we can get ahead and we can get advantages at the right time. I see my Nasus ping me here, so I just go back here because my Nasus wants to farm up. We still have pretty good late game though this game, to be fair. I mean, Nasus late game is still pretty good. Lux, of course, does a crazy amount of damage. Lucian falls off a little bit, to be fair. I do need to be careful Baron. I probably should have checked Baron at this point, yeah. But you'll see me, what I do here is I ping my enemy team back. Because I know my enemy team is going to try and... oh, sorry, not the enemy team. I know my team is going to try and look to fight here. And I don't want to fight. I just want to keep farming. But again, they're all around Baron here when they shouldn't be. I use my ultimate here. I jump straight onto Xayah to try and kill her. Actually, that's not even Xayah. That's Seraphine. Whoops. Yeah, even Seraphine, I tried to kill her, which was quite nice. I was able to kill the Seraphine. But yeah, it was... again, it's a bit of an overextend there from my team because it was a 4 versus 5. It was kind of a 4 versus 4 because it seemed like Varus wasn't in the fight, but... Playing without vision and playing around objectives when you have no vision is very scary. You see, I'm kind of worried about the Varus here. I'm very worried about Varus. I should spell shield here. But you'll see here in just a second. Oh, I did spell shield. What is spell shield? I don't even know. Okay, it didn't happen. I was kind of scared that Varus Q. I think this happened in one of my games, but I was against Varus. Actually, it might have happened against someone that I was playing with, or duo or trio Q off stream. But when you're against the Varus, you have to be very, very worried when you're starting Baron, because his first ability does a lot of damage, and also he can do a lot of burst damage to you as well. He can like kind of one-shot you at times and do a crazy amount of damage. So that's what you should be scared about. That's honestly what you should be scared about. So yeah, I'm able to get, like, you know, such a big lead this game from just making sure that I just clear through my jungle camps when possible. I try and make sure that I gank whenever possible as well. Again, I have my ultimate up again. So what I do here is I use my sweeper. I make sure the enemy team doesn't have any vision, and I look for an ultimate mid. I shouldn't jump onto Xayah here. This is a huge fucking mistake, but I still kill Xayah anyway, so it's fine. As the fear actually went off. Actually, I somehow killed the Varus there as well. My fear went off. I killed the Fiora as well. Really nice dodge actually of the Seraphine ability. Yeah, I shouldn't really jump onto Xayah. I should focus Varus more than Xayah, because Xayah has her ulti. But Xayah, unfortunately, couldn't get out of range. And even after she used her ulti, she... I was able to get another kill there as well. It's kind of funny. I'm kind of using my Q as poke at this point. But yeah, you saw that even though I jumped onto the Xayah, it was still... I was still able to fear her straight afterwards. And there you go. 15-minute game. A bit of a longer game this time. As you can see, like, a few mistakes from the enemy team. But I think this shows that Nocturne just has so much power with his global ultimate that he can get from basically one side of the map to the other, especially when you have 3 points in your ultimate. And even if your team do make a few mistakes and they do overextend, you can always join a team fight from basically anywhere in the map. Lucian had a pretty good game though. He did overextend a few times and die a few times. I mean, so did I as well. 24,000 damage. Not the best in terms of damage this game. Of course, I was farming a lot this game. Like, my goal this game was just to farm the jungle as quick as possible. And you can see that even though I've been farming so much and I don't have a lot of damage, I have 17,000 gold. Fiora only has 10,000 gold. That's like 2 items up. Actually, I actually don't know how many items I was up this game. I'm pretty sure I was like 2 items up this game. Maybe even more than that. I don't think I even went back to base. These are my runes as well if you want to see them. First Strike, Gathering Storm, Giant Slayer, Legend of Alacrity, and Overgrowth. If I show the... yeah, I'm a full item ahead. I'm probably more than that because I just got so much gold from more kills. I'm probably like 2 items ahead of Fiora at this point, which is, yeah, very scary to deal with. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed more of an insight when it comes to jungling and jungle efficiency. And of course, if you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.